Okay, everybody, you can get started. We are live streaming this. So I know the people introduced themselves and started, but I would ask that you do it again. Scoring panelists, you are welcome to turn your cameras off if you would like to, and have fun.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, my name is Larry Bowling. I'm a county court judge.
Judge, everybody, you can get started.
Sorry? Can everyone hear me okay? All right, so everyone, my name is Larry Bowling. I'm a county court judge. I'm the judge presiding over your trial today. Is the plaintiff ready to proceed to trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready to proceed to trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, if I could have, starting with the plaintiff, each side, well, let me do some other things first before I have you introduce yourselves. So first of all, I want to confirm that if anyone's using video recording, that both of the teams have approved taping of the round. I want to inform teams as well as gallery members, those of you who are watching as family or friends of the participants of the Colorado Bar Association, may be taking photographs of the competition during the round. I'm not sure how they can do that virtually, but at least when these were live proceedings, they did that. Team participation in the state tournament grants automatic permission in the use of these photos by the Colorado Bar Association. If there's anyone in the gallery who's connected with teams not competing in this round, you must leave this courtroom. There are two exceptions to this rule. I want to remind the teams that no recesses will be allowed, with the exception of those granted for a health emergency. And certainly if someone has a health emergency, let us know. But otherwise, no recesses, especially not between the end of witness examination and the beginning of closing arguments. We'll go right from examination to closing arguments. I have discretion to stop time for technical difficulties in a virtual competition. If anyone believes that there's a reason we need to stop the timekeeping because we've lost internet connectivity or something, try and let me know that. I think we already did this, but let's do it on the record. Do any of the scoring panelists believe you have any reason to be biased in judging either team? I'm going to take that as a no. I want to remind the teams and coaches that any disputes arising out of this competition must be reported in accordance with the competition rules. I want to remind the teams that your compliance with time requirements will be considered in scoring individual performances. Can we just confirm that no coach or team member that aren't in this competition are in the virtual room? Okay, at this point, I will ask each side to introduce themselves, starting with the plaintiff, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Monsi Guerra, and I will be performing the opening statement, as well as the direct examination of Dakota Weirs and the cross-examination of Blake Doncourt. Permission for my co-counsel to introduce themselves?
Permission granted.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, opposing counsel and members of the jury. My name is Braden Tours, and today I will be conducting the direct examination of Carson Durst, as well as the cross-examination of Skylar Weirs, and I will also be delivering the closing statements for the plaintiff.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Owen Pontius, and I will be performing the preliminary matters along with the direct examination of Dr. Casey Rogers and the cross-examination of Dr. Devin Williams. Permission to introduce our witnesses at this time?
Granted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Quinching Ling, and I am Dakota Weirs.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Isabel Spencer, and I am Carson Durst.
Good morning, Your Honor. I am Ava Neal, and I am Dr. Casey Rogers.
All right, thank you. On the plaintiff side, if the defense side will introduce themselves, starting with the attorneys, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, opposing counsel and the jury. My name is Vasuda Goyal, and I'll be doing the opening statement, directing Blake Doncourt and crossing Dakota Weirs. Permission for my co-counsel to introduce themselves?
Granted.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Paula Yaboa-Cosa. I will be directing Dr. Devin Williams and cross-examining Carson Durst.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Tanvi Rami, and I'll be directing Skylar Weirs and
cross-examining Dr. Casey Rogers, and I will also be performing the preliminary matters in the closing statements. Permission for our witnesses to introduce themselves?
Permission granted. Witnesses?
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Andrew Kim, and I am Blake Dockcourt.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Olivia Brewer, and I am Skylar Weir.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Katina Barris, and I am Dr. Devin Williams.
Okay, we had some interference at the beginning, but I think towards the end there it got better. We'll just see how that works. I'm not sure what the interference at the beginning was. If the scoring panelists can't hear at any point in time, please pipe up and let me know, and we'll see if we can figure out what technical issue is keeping you from being able to hear well. Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourselves. The next thing I need to do is swear in team members, the gallery, scoring panelists, and witnesses. So let's start with just team members first. If I can have each of you raise your right hand for me, you don't need to stand. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? Can I get some yeses?
I do.
Yes.
All right. I realize it's a little awkward virtually like this. And we'll go to witnesses next. If witnesses will raise their right hand for me. Witnesses, do you promise that the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, everyone. And although I can't see you, for gallery members, including teacher and attorney coaches, if you'd raise your right hands, gallery members, including teacher and attorney coaches, family members, and friends, do you promise to represent yourselves as positive role models and to behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round? The court will presume that everyone in that category answered that in the affirmative. Lastly, scoring panelists, if you'll please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Greer, we've been given the go-ahead to start, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, you're free to start.
Okay, all right. Are there any pre-trial issues that the plaintiff first wanted to raise?
Yes, Your Honor, a few preliminary matters.
Okay,
First,
go ahead.
First, the people request that stipulated facts of the case be submitted into evidence to assist the jury's understanding.
Any objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that request is granted.
The people request that the witnesses are allowed a copy of exhibit packets unmarked and personal witness statements nearby for expediency's sake.
Any objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, that was granted as well.
And finally, the plaintiff requests that all extra time from closing statement be reserved for a rebuttal.
All right, the court will grant that request. Any other pretrial issues on the plaintiff's side?
No, Your Honor.
Any pretrial issues the defense would like to address?
Your Honor, the defense requests to have the same preliminary matters that the prosecution requested.
Okay, that's granted. Those will all work both ways. Any other requests?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go ahead and get the trial started then. Opening statement by the plaintiff, please. Can I stop you for 1 sec? Let's just make sure. Are the timekeepers ready?
Ready.
Timekeeper on the other side ready as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Plaintiff's opening statement when you're ready.
Good afternoon, members of the jury. My name is Monsi Gada, and I, along with my colleagues Braden Tours and Owen Pontius, have the privilege of representing the plaintiff, Ms. Dakota Weirs, in today's trial. The doctrine of negligence does not require the elimination of all risk from the party's conduct, only all unreasonable risk. Unreasonable risk is best defined as a risk that caused foreseeable harm due to conduct. Unreasonable risk is the reason why the plaintiff, Dakota Weirs, brings her case to court today. Unreasonable risk is the reason why Miss Weirs struggles with non-Hodgkin lymphoma and the reason why her dreams and passions have been crushed. Unreasonable risk is best defined as what Lush Fertilizer failed to identify, and therefore causing the life of a young woman to be drastically ruined. An unreasonable risk is the reason why Lush Fertilizer will be held accountable and charged with the crimes of negligence. Before I get into the evidence, let me tell you a little bit about Miss Weirs. Miss Weirs is 20 years of age and loves to play the piano. However, she won't be able to anymore. Prior to being diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, Miss Weirs is an extremely talented pianist with high hopes and potential. She was meant to go to Juilliard and was bound for great success, but due to her illness, she was unable to. Everything she had worked towards had been ripped away from her. Miss Weirs will tell you about her life prior to getting diagnosed and how terribly it's affected her life now. She will also tell you about why exactly Lush Fertilizer is the reason behind her illness. I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing from Miss Weirs and find that she is a kind and trustworthy person. So today, bringing forth true hard proof of the negligence of Lush Fertilizer, the members of the jury will hear from 3 witnesses today. You will hear from Dakota Weirs, Carson Durst, and expert witness Dr. Casey Rogers. The first witness that will be called today is Dakota Weirs. Dakota Weirs stands here today in court to hold Lush Fertilizer accountable for the unregulated use of Drufo in their product, therefore causing her to fall ill with non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The next witness that will be called is Carson Durst. Previously employed at Lush Fertilizer, Carson has seen the development of Drufo and has insight on the possible precautions Lush Fertilizer could and should have taken to protect customers from any possible injury. Durst will explain his own research as well as other studies that back up the claim that Drufo has many carcinogenic qualities. The final witness that will be called is expert witness Dr. Casey Rogers. Rogers has a PhD in agriculture and entomology, as well as a Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture and chemistry. He brings forth vital evidence backed by logic and reasoning that prove the inconsistencies in the product Drufo itself and the harmful effect it can have on customers. His study's results will prove the direct correlation between exposure to Drufo and cancer. You will hear from the defense shortly after, and what they aspire, or hope, or anticipate to do today is exculpate Lush Fertilizer from all charges of negligence. However, they will fail to do one very vital thing: tell the full story. They will hide important evidence from you. They will claim that the solid evidence proving Lush Fertilizer's negligence is just manufactured in a desperate attempt to win the case. And in the end, all the defense will show is speculation, conjecture, and reasonable doubt. However, the plaintiff brings full evidence, substantial evidence that will prove that Lush Fertilizer was in fact negligent. This case is one further than just the negligence of Lush Fertilizer. It's about the life and dreams of a young man or woman being taken away from her. While Lush Fertilizer may try to hide their negligence with false claims, they will never succeed because today, members of the jury, the plaintiff brings the cold, hard facts of the case and the only likely outcome. At the end, I will return and find that you find in favor of Ms. Weirs and award fair damages for the pain and disability she has suffered at the hands of the defendant. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Opening statement from the defense when you're ready.
Good morning, Your Honor, opposing counsel and members of the jury. My name is Vasuda Goyal, and I'm here with my co-counsel to prove to you that Lush Fertilizer is not the cause of Dakota's non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Lush Fertilizer is an agricultural technology company which aims to create products which are safer for the environment. Today, they are being accused of releasing a product which causes cancer. Although we are very sympathetic to Dakota Weirs' condition, Lush isn't the cause of this, and Dakota may be taking a course of action too quickly for what they know. They're a young teen who is clearly not in the best mental state to be making these decisions as they are going through stages of grief, and who wouldn't be after such a tragic loss. However, that is no reason to blame my client for what has happened. Dakota has been seeing ads against Lush and is likely using it as some sort of emotional outlet to get everything out. Today, you, the jury, will see the plaintiff try to paint my client company as unethical and money hungry, but that is simply not true. We will see Carson Durst's claim that there were flaws in the testing of Drufo, but they broke company code and were only given this job out of the kindness of my client's heart. We will see their expert witness, Dr. Casey Rogers, trying to gain credibility for their work by defending these false claims against Lush fertilizers. We will show you today that this is merely just a display of emotions directed toward the wrong target. Although we feel much sympathy for their situation, it doesn't change the fact that Dakota Weirs is making a wrong course of action and Lush fertilizers was not the cause of her cancer. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. The plaintiff will call their first witness for us, please.
Yes, Your Honor, we call Dakota Weirs to the stand.
All right, the witness has been previously sworn. Counsel, you can start with your direct examination when you and the witness are ready.
Good afternoon, Ms. Weirs. Could you please state your full name and spell the last for the court?
Dakota Weirs, W-E-I-R-S.
Thank you, Ms. Weirs. Can you tell the court why you're here today?
I'm here today to sue Lush Fertilizer for their use of Drufo in their products.
What is your current occupation?
I'm currently unemployed.
Have you had a previous occupation? And if so, where were you employed?
I used to be previously employed with Haven Landscaping as a landscaping technician.
How long did you work for Haven Landscaping?
I've worked there since I was 14 years old.
And how old are you now?
I'm now 20.
What were your responsibilities at your job?
At the time, I was tasked with spreading the grass in fertilizer as I was too young to be operating the machinery.
What type of materials and chemicals did you work with?
I used various fertilizers, one of which was Lush fertilizer.
While working with these, were you advised to wear long sleeves, pants, and gloves?
My boss did recommend that if we worked with fertilizers, we would wear protective gear, but it was often too hot to wear any long sleeves or pants.
Did any of your colleagues who use Lush fertilizer wear long sleeves, pants, or gloves?
No, they all agreed that it was often too hot to be wearing those clothes when working outdoors.
And were any of your colleagues diagnosed with the same condition that you have?
To my knowledge, none of my colleagues were diagnosed with my same condition.
Do you regret not wearing protective gear?
Yes, now many things have been taken away from me. My dreams of going to Juilliard for piano, which I showed a talent in and I even won a scholarship for. I'm no longer able to work or to contribute to my community as well.
I'm sorry, Ms. Weirs. What condition do you have?
I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Could you further explain what that is?
It's a non-hereditary cancer that's deteriorated my physical health. My lymph nodes swell and I bruise easily. I've also noticed that I get easily fatigued and I run out of breath often. Overall, it hurt my body and I'm not able to do the things I used to be able to do.
Prior to being diagnosed with this condition, what did you do?
I was very active in my community. I used to volunteer a lot. Like I stated before, I used to work at Haven Landscaping as well. Within school, I was part of National Honor Society and I also was part of multiple other clubs.
And why won't you be able to attend Juilliard anymore?
I won't be able to attend Juilliard because my body in its current condition cannot withstand the rigorous schedule that Juilliard requires. I find that I'm unable to sit at piano benches for long periods of times because I bruise, as well as I get easily fatigued.
And how did this affect you mentally?
I was very sad and quickly became depressed. I felt like my passion was taken away from me. Piano was something that I've loved since a young age, ever since my grandfather taught me how to play. He's since died, and I felt like being diagnosed with this cancer and not being able to play it anymore has ripped away the one connection I had left with him.
Ultimately, what effect has non-Hodgkin lymphoma had on your life?
It's hurt me both physically and mentally. I'm not able to do the things I do anymore, which causes me to be very depressed, and I just feel like it's ruined my life and I don't really have a future.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Ms. Weirs. What is the reason behind your condition?
It's Lush fertilizer.
How so?
Specifically, their use of Drufo in their products.
What is Drufo?
Drufo is a bonding agent that Lush Fertilizer uses.
Your Honor, do you have a copy of Exhibit 1 available to you?
Yes.
Let the record show that this is a clean and unmarked copy of what has been previously marked as Exhibit 1. I request permission to show Exhibit 1 to Dakota Weirs.
Granted.
Ms. Weirs, could you please identify what Exhibit 1 is?
This is the label on the Lush Fertilizer I used at my job.
Your Honor, we offer Exhibit 1 into evidence at this time. The authenticity of the exhibit has been stipulated.
Is there any objection to admission of Exhibit 1 by the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 1's admitted.
Ms. Weirs, on this label, what do you notice?
I noticed that there's merely recommendations for what to do when using the fertilizer.
Could you please read out loud what is under the title Hazards?
Keep out of reach of children, caution, causes eye irritation, avoid contact with eyes or clothing.
Are there any warnings under that title that elucidates the clear dangers of the Drufo use in the product?
No, there's nothing mentioning that.
Could you please read out loud the first sentence of the user safety recommendations?
As with any spray fertilizer, utilize protective clothing that covers exposed skin.
It states, as with any fertilizer, but does it say anything on the label showing the clear difference between Lush fertilizer and any fertilizer due to the use of Drufo?
No, it does not.
And could you please read out loud the caution part on the label as well?
Caution, causes eye irritation, avoid contact with eyes of clothing.
Ms. Weirs, does this part tell you to avoid clothing?
It's not really clear.
So what is this label trying to tell you, the consumer, in terms of protective clothing?
It's very confusingly worded. I'm not quite sure what it's trying to say. It's just very confusingly worded.
Could this be filed as gross negligence of consumers towards Lush fertilizer?
Yes.
And could you please read right under the logo as well?
For use on lawn, turf, and weed control.
Does it specify that you must use this product outdoors?
No, it does not.
Does it specify anywhere on the label that Drufo must be used outdoors?
No.
So would there have been any issue with you using the product indoors?
No, not from what the label says.
Your Honor, do you have a copy of Exhibit 2 available to you?
Yes.
Let the record show that this is a clean and unmarked copy of what has been previously marked as Exhibit 2. I request permission to show Exhibit 2 to Dakota Weirs.
Granted.
Ms. Weirs, could you please identify what Exhibit 2 is?
It's a comparison of the French ingredients of Lush fertilizer as well as the US version.
Your Honor, we offer Exhibit 2 into evidence at this time. The authenticity of the exhibit has been stipulated.
Any objection by the defense?
No, Your Honor.
2's admitted.
Ms. Weirs, compared to Exhibit 1 of the ingredients of Lush fertilizer used in the United States, what is the key difference of the ingredients of Lush fertilizer used in France?
Drufo is not present in the active ingredients.
And why is this?
Because France has deemed it not safe.
What other countries have outlawed the use of Drufo in Lush fertilizer?
In addition to France, Haiti, Liberia, Canada, Congo, and Cote d'Ivoire have all banned it.
Is this for the same reason that France does not use it?
Yes.
And does Lush fertilizer still use this product regardless of the known dangers?
Yes.
And does Lush fertilizer warn their consumers about possible dangers?
No, there's no warnings.
Ms. Weirs, is Lush fertilizer a negligent company?
Yes, they are.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Cross-exam by the defense.
Yes, Your Honor. May I begin?
Yes.
You may.
Yeah. So I just want to ask you some follow-up questions about what's previously been stated. So how are you doing?
I'm good.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that?
I'm doing well today.
So you were very close with your grandfather, which caused your love for piano, right?
Yes, he was the one that taught me how to play piano, and that's how I was able to cultivate my passion.
And your skill in the piano got your scholarship to Juilliard, correct?
That is correct.
And Juilliard's pretty hard to get into. I congratulate you on that. Sadly, you weren't able to go because of the effect of your non-Hodgkin lymphoma, right?
Correct. I'm not able to withstand the rigorous coursework that Juilliard requires.
So this all could have affected your mental health as well?
Yes, I'm very sad that I'm not able to do the things that I used to do before my diagnosis, which I valued a lot.
And during this time, you would notice some PR ads against Lush.
I saw some news on the TV, yes.
And did you feel these ads could, in this case, outlined as some emotional outlet for you?
Could you please rephrase it? I'm not quite sure what you meant by emotional outlet.
Did you feel that this case and all these ads against Lush helped you let out your emotions over your cancer?
I felt like I was able to pinpoint what caused it. It gave me a starting point to see what caused my cancer.
Well, moving on from that, you were in contact with other fertilizers, correct?
Yes, I worked with other fertilizers.
And there are safety recommendations on the Lush packaging, right?
Yeah, there's user safety recommendations, but it wasn't stated as if it was like very needed.
But your manager at Havens did say to always be wearing protective wear when you were using chemicals?
Yes, but me along with my colleagues, we all agreed that it was often too hot to wear it, so we didn't wear any protective clothing because we didn't see the need to at that time.
Well, thank you. That will be all at this moment.
All right, thank you, counsel. Any redirect by the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Just to clarify, Ms. Weers, you worked with other fertilizers, correct?
Yes, I did.
Did any of the other fertilizers you worked with have Drufo in them?
No, Lush Fertilizers was the only one that contained Drufo.
And did your manager say you had to wear protective clothing?
He recommended it, but oftentimes my colleagues and I didn't wear it because it was too hot.
And as we previously covered, Ms. Weers, did the label with the warnings state to avoid clothing?
It had very weird wording. I couldn't exactly tell what it stated, but anything it did say was merely a recommendation. It never had any clear outlines that not wearing clothing would cause cancer at all.
Thank you, Ms. Weers. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any recross-examination by the defense?
Yes, please, Your Honor. So you said that your manager had told you had only recommended, but in your testimony you stated that he had mandated that you wear protective clothing while using chemicals.
He did tell us to wear protective clothing. The recommendation came from the label. The label only had it as a recommendation, while my boss did tell me and my colleagues that it was necessary to wear protective clothing. Again, my colleagues and I all agreed that it was often too hot to do so, so we didn't wear it at all.
No further questions.
All right, I think that completes that witness's testimony. The witness may step down. If the plaintiff will call plaintiff's second witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff now calls witness Carson Durst to the stand.
All right, witness has been previously sworn. Counsel, you can start your direct examination when you and the witness are ready.
Sorry, Wands. All right. Could you please state your full legal name and spell the last for the record?
Carson Durst, D-U-R-S-T.
Ms. Durst, why are you here today?
I'm here to testify the truth about Blank Doncourt and Lush Fertilizer.
And what is the nature of your relationship with the defendant, Blake Duncourt?
Well, Charles Duncourt, Blake's son, and I, we played on a soccer team together, so we were very close, best friends, if you will, and our families were also very close.
And could you tell me a little bit about how your current career began?
Well, right after graduation, I still didn't have a job, and I had spoken to Charles about this, and he had told me that his father, Blake Duncourt, his company, Lush Fertilizer, was having applications for interns. So I had decided to try to become an intern, and I did become one.
And how did this job fare out for you in the beginning?
Well, I raced through the ranks pretty quickly. I became a full-time employee after just about 3 months as a product development engineer.
Wow. So based on your perception of the work environment, why do you believe you received this promotion so soon?
I believe I understood what came with having that type of job, and I was just simply better at what I was doing than my coworkers at the time.
Thank you. So what were some products you worked on as lead product manager at Lush Fertilizer?
The biggest product I worked on was Drufo.
And what is Drufo?
Drufo was a bonding agent that was in a lot of Lush's fertilizers.
And what was the value of Drufo to Lush Fertilizer as a product?
Drufo increased the longevity and texture of fertilizers, which was used to, if you will, make their fertilizers better compared to their competitors.
So from your perception, it was pretty important to Lush Fertilizer.
It was.
Right. And what was your task in this assignment with Drufo?
Well, I was tasked with researching Drufo and a chemical compound within Drufo.
And how did you begin this research?
Well, since I was only an intern at the time, I was told to research and help my coworkers with in-house studies. And one of the in-house studies that I did do was a study that I found a piece of information from England.
And what did this piece of information say?
It said that Drufo could be carcinogenic in rats.
And did you notify anyone about this concerning finding?
Well, so when we find information like this, we're supposed to put it in notebooks that our superior or our managers will look through. And I did do that.
Your Honor, could you verify that you have a copy of Exhibit 3 in front of you?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Durst, do you have a clean and unmarked copy of what was previously marked as Exhibit number 3 in front of you?
I do.
And do you recognize this document?
I do.
Could you identify it for me?
It is the document that I had found that was speaking about whether Drufo contained any chemicals that could be carcinogenic in rats.
Your Honor, I now move to enter Exhibit number 3 into evidence. The authenticity of this document has been stipulated.
Any objection or voir dire by the plaintiff? I'm sorry, by the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Durst, could you please read the title of the study at the top of the page?
Yes. Lifespan exposure to low doses of C3NO9P beginning during early life increases cancer effects in rats.
And could you please summarize this study's conclusion?
Well, it basically explains that the carcinogenicity of long-term effects from these chemicals were carcinogenic in rats and increased the effects of cancer.
So after finding this study, did you conduct any of your own studies with your scientific team into the safety of Drufo?
We did conduct another in-house study, but the information was sort of pushed under the rug, if you will.
All right. Did any findings arise from your research team during that in-house study that sparked your concern?
I was definitely concerned with the possibility and later information and evidence found that the chemicals in Drufo could be carcinogenic not only in rats but also possibly in humans. And the more studying we did, the more scary this kind of information became. And they being my managers, told us that they would allow us to put it in our notebooks, but once they put it into one document, that information was left out.
And so after this study that you conducted, this in-house study, when was the concern that it might be carcinogenic brought up?
I and my coworkers had brought it up during a meeting with Jerry Langley and Alex Monroe, our manager, and we had brought it up while they were listening.
And was a conclusion report published on this study?
There was nothing published about what we had found in this way.
So the concern was not mentioned in the lab's conclusion report, is what you're saying?
That's correct. It was not mentioned.
And who was in charge of posting this conclusion?
Jerry Langley was the main person who put together our information.
Is this the same person who attended the meeting when the concern about its carcinogenicity was brought up?
Yes, Jerry Langley and Alex Monroe.
And was it ever formally published or stated anywhere to your knowledge that it might be carcinogenic?
Not that I am aware of.
And were any further studies launched into the possible carcinogenicity of Drufo after this concern arose?
No.
So referring back to the conclusion report, did it suggest any possible way to mitigate the carcinogenic risk?
It said that if you were able to bake Drufo in the production process, you would be able to minimize the effects or possibility of developing cancer from Drufo. But other than that, there was nothing.
And to your knowledge, did Drufo ever conduct a study to assess whether this baking, as you mentioned, was a viable means of mitigating this risk?
I believe that there was not.
And did your research team ever find any evidence showing that baking Drufo would eliminate the carcinogenic compound?
We did not.
And to your knowledge, did Lush Fertilizer ever bother even baking Drufo?
No.
And what was your personal impression of this conclusion report?
I was very appalled that there was nothing posted or shown in their documentation of this.
Thank you so much, Ms. Durst. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, counsel. Cross-exam by the defense.
How are you? Today I'll be asking you a series. Sorry. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Today I'll be asking you a series of questions. Were you friends with Charles Doncourt?
Yes, we were on a traveling soccer team together and we were very close. Yes.
And you were friends with Charles for a long time, correct?
Yes, when we were very young.
And after college, you didn't have any job offerings, is this right?
I didn't have anything when I was about to graduate, so that is why I spoke to Charles about this right before graduation. So yes.
And your close family friends, the Doncourts, offered a position for you at Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, they offered me to become an intern and then later gave me a job.
Sounds like they helped you a lot, but you had a hard time with your colleagues because of this, right?
Objection, Your Honor. This is a narrative. There's a lack of foundation for this.
Counsel, your response? Well, I think there were two objections there. Your response?
Your Honor, permission to confer with the counsel, co-counsel?
You may. Counsel, your response to the objection?
Your Honor, this is not a narrative because I am laying of the foundation.
All right, I'm going to overrule both objections. I don't think it was narrative, and I think the foundation is being laid now. You can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. But you had a hard time with your colleagues because of this?
There was some colleagues who believed that I was given a job or a position just because I was close with the Doncourts, but I believe that I proved myself.
And later on, you were given the company's biggest assignment, the creation of Drufo, correct?
The research of Drufo, yes.
And many of your colleagues also believe this was because of your relation with the Doncourts, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Response, counsel?
Moving on.
All right, sustained.
Eventually, you started receiving horrible performance reviews, correct?
I only received those after I had written in my notebook about the negative side effects of Drufo.
And you were on probation with the company?
This was after the negative, my comments about Drufo, so I believe that it was kind of based on just how we were all reacting with the negative effects of Drufo, but yes, I did.
And Blake didn't do anything to help, correct?
Blake told me that I was, no, he did not.
This took a toll on your relationship, right?
Well, you could say, but I was more close with Charles at the time, or I was friends with Charles. He just happened to be like close with my family.
So in this time, you started to look for another job?
I did, just because I felt like with the negativeness at Lush with how I was being treated, I needed to still be able to show my how I was able to be a good asset to a team. So yes, I technically was looking for other jobs at the time.
And while looking, you found a job at Tara's Greenery?
This is correct.
And you applied knowing Tara's Greenery was Lush's biggest competitor?
I applied because I wanted to keep growing with my job.
Right, but this violated your non-disclosure agreement with Lush, correct?
Yes, but this has already been, that issue was dealt with prior.
And you still took the job with Tara's Greenery, knowing that it violated the non-disclosure agreement?
Like I said, yes, but that was dealt with before. We did have a little bit of issues with that, but that was dealt with.
It seems a lot like you're trying to get back at Blake, doesn't it?
I'll admit that.
Oh, hold on. Go ahead, counsel. What's the objection?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
Counsel, your response?
Moving on.
All right, sustained.
Didn't you say applying to Tara's Greenery would get Blake's go?
I would agree that long ago, that was about 16 years ago, I was upset, as anyone would be after being treated that way by a family friend. However, at this time, I don't feel that way, so I don't feel like it would affect me today in my testimony.
That seems pretty ill will to me. Thank you, Your Honor. That will be all.
All right, any redirect on the plaintiff's side?
Yes, Your Honor. A brief redirect.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Durst, did your relationship with Blake Duncourt in any way affect your conduct at the company?
I tried not to at all have any effect, or had my relationship with the Duncourts affect my work at all, and I believe that I was able to keep my image above. So I don't believe that my relationship with him affected me.
And does your subsequent employment at Tara's Greenery, did that in any way relate to your conduct at your previous employment at Lush Fertilizer?
I don't believe that it affected Tara's Greenery or Lush together at all.
And so this non-disclosure agreement that was mentioned, is this, to your knowledge, has this been entered in this case?
I don't believe so.
And did this in any way relate to the current case at hand?
It does not.
And does it in any way relate to the conduct and negligence that you have testified to today?
It does not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, any recross by the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. So you said you took the job knowing that it violated your non-disclosure agreement with Lush?
I did, because I had believed that I still needed to grow.
Question? That will be all, Your Honor.
All right, I think that concludes Ms. Durst's testimony. The witness can step down. If the plaintiff will call their third witness for us, please.
We now call Dr. Casey Rogers to the stand.
All right, thank you, counsel. The witness has been previously sworn. Counsel, you can start with your examination when you and the witness are ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Rogers, could you please state your first and last name, spelling the last for the record?
Rogers.
I'm sorry, may you repeat that? I believe we're having some trouble hearing you.
My apologies. My name is Dr. Casey Rogers. Last name spelled Rogers.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. And what is your current occupation?
I'm currently a professor teaching 3 classes at UC Berkeley.
What are you, and at UC Berkeley, you said?
Yes.
And what fields do you currently teach in?
I currently teach in agriculture and etymology.
And did you do anything prior to your position at UC Berkeley?
Prior, I was a student there.
Thank you. And what degrees do you currently hold?
I hold 2 degrees, a bachelor's in science in agriculture and chemistry, as well as a PhD in agriculture and etymology.
And did you pursue any other forms of education, whether that be training or on training before your position at UC Berkeley?
Yes, in fact, I worked as a research analyst for a multinational chemical corporation.
And what was the main area of research you studied?
The harmful effects on the human body of consistent exposure to chemicals such as DRUFO.
And what is the formal name of this field?
The formal name of this field is toxicology.
Has this given you any formal experience in expert advisory before?
Yes, my work has been used in expert advisory and litigation, providing me with a wealth of information and experience to draw upon while testifying in these fields of toxicology.
Perfect. Do you have a copy of Exhibit 6 and Exhibit 7 in front of you, Dr. Casey Rogers?
Yes, I do.
And then, Your Honor, do you also have a copy of Exhibit 6 and Exhibit 7?
I do. Thank you, counsel.
Could you tell me what this document is, Dr. Rogers?
Yes, these are of my curriculum vitae, which is a collection of all of my academic and professional experience, while the latter is a list of my written works.
Your Honor, we motion to submit Exhibit 6 and Exhibit 7 into evidence at this time.
Any objection to admission of 6 and 7?
No, Your Honor.
6 and 7 are admitted.
And we'd also at this time like to motion to classify Dr. Casey Rogers as an expert witness in the fields of horticulture, entomology, and toxicology.
Any voir dire or objection by the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Dr. Rogers, what is horticulture entomology?
Horticulture and entomology are the studies surrounding plants and animals that surround them.
And this field has no overlap with the medical field, correct?
Although those fields specifically do not interact with medicine, my experience in toxicology provides me with a host of information to draw upon regarding the effects of chemicals on the human body, such as the carcinogenic effects of DRUFO on the client.
However, you hold no medical certifications or degrees, correct?
Medical certifications would not be necessary for me to draw upon information from previous experiments and experience regarding things like my work as a research analyst.
Your Honor, I move to prevent Dr. Rogers from giving any medical opinions on this case.
The court believes an adequate foundation has been laid. The court, over the defense objection, will admit the witness is an expert in toxicology, horticulture, and entomology. Counsel, you can proceed with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Moving on to the case at hand, when did you first become familiar with Dakota Weir's situation?
When I was asked to testify here.
And where did you start in your research into this case?
I started by looking over Ms. Weir's medical records.
And what did you find in these records?
Ms. Weir was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
And what have you found in your research to be related to non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Consistent exposure to the carcinogenic chemicals in luscious fertilizer, DRUFO.
And how did you come to this conclusion?
I came to this conclusion through my study.
Could you briefly explain what the study was?
My study contained 3 groups: a control, a group who was occasionally exposed to DRUFO, and a group who was consistently exposed to DRUFO. My results prove carcinogenicity of DRUFO.
And what exactly did you see in these results?
My results showed that those who were consistently exposed to DRUFO showed that they were 10 times more likely to be diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma than my control, and those who were occasionally exposed to Druvo were 5 times more likely to be diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma than my control.
And what initially brought Druvo to your attention?
When I first saw it brought to market, I believed it to be rushed.
And had there been any other previous problems relating to Druvo in the past?
Yes, not only had it been proven carcinogenic in rats, it is also banned in many European countries.
So why in your study did you focus on the use of Druvo rather than any of these other fertilizers that Ms. Wires could be exposed to?
Other fertilizers did not share these same concerns, such as carcinogenicity in rats or bans in other countries.
And finally, in your expert opinion, do you believe Dakota Weir's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is in fact caused by Druvo?
Absolutely.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Cross-exam by the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. May I begin?
You may.
Hello, Dr. Rogers. I'm going to be asking you a few questions, if that's okay. Dr. Rogers, is it true that you did your own research on Druvo?
Yes, in fact, I did.
And you researched Druvo because you had safety concerns?
Yes, I did. It had proven very concerning in previous studies.
And your findings showed a correlation between Druvo and cancer, correct?
Yes.
However, you found this correlation by analyzing numerous cases over a small time span.
Yes, and my results did correlate with other slightly more long-term experiments as well.
And yet you compared the farmers who use Druvo to gardeners who use it slightly and to people who don't use it at all. Doesn't this comparison have many outside variables that haven't been considered?
Outside variables are something that I took into consideration when creating this study. I knew that they would not matter as much because other chemicals that, for example, hobbyist gardeners and consistent farmers would use didn't share these same initial baseline concerns. Therefore, continuing my subjects to use those whilst in my study did not provide any concern regarding the validity of my results.
Yes, however, that still doesn't address the other outside factors as you're comparing drastically different groups.
The drastically different groups, those outside results and those outside experiences did not justify any concern on my part, because the only thing that truly mattered based on other research and the concerns Druvo held was Druvo itself. That is the thing I was testing, and that is what mattered.
Dr. Rogers, you say that you found a correlation, correct?
Yes, a correlation backed up by many other studies in a similar manner as mine.
And yet correlation is not causation, correct?
Although correlation and causation are separate, they can lead to one another, and my correlation proves with connections with these other studies that this is a very concerning pattern of events. And even though it may just be correlation, these studies all together prove the fact that Druvo is at fault here.
Moving on. In Dakota's case, sorry. Dr. Rogers, you came onto this case as an expert due to your concerns, correct?
Yes, indeed, I did.
But if you were to win this case in your position, that would only increase your credibility, correct?
Although my credibility would increase, that is not my motivation for joining this trial. My motivation for joining this trial was to prove that you are at fault here as a result of the chemical correlation between Druvo and consistent diagnoses with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Meaning that you are here to prove that your research is correct. Yes, and if it is correct and you win, it would make you more credible.
I am not here to seek
Objection, that
other
was a
people's
question, Your Honor.
I'm
Can I
sorry.
retract?
Hold on. I'm sorry. What was the objection again?
That was a compound question.
All right, sustained. You can re-ask.
Which means that you are here to show that your research is correct, yes?
I am not here to seek validity for my experiment. I already know that my experiment has valid results.
That will be all, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, counsel. Any redirect by the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Do you ever outline who was in which groups, Dr. Rogers? In each one of your
I
control.
outlined the basics of the fact that those with no exposure to Drufo, occasional exposure to Drufo, and consistent exposure to Drufo, those were my guidelines.
And did you have a control group in this study?
Yes, in fact, I did.
Finally, are you aware that there is many variables present in real-world science?
Yes, indeed.
So why didn't you look into these other variables, and why did you specifically focus on Drufo?
Those variables mattered very little when looking at the direct effects of Drufo on carcinogenicity in humans.
And finally, in your expert opinion, is there a correlation or causal link between Drufo and non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
There is no doubt that that is the case.
I'm sorry, is it a correlation or a causal link?
There is both a correlation in my study and a causal link when looking at studies at large.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Any recross by the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I think that concludes Dr. Rogers' testimony. Is the defense ready to begin presenting witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to present Blake Doncourt to the stand.
All right, witness has been previously sworn, and counsel, you can start when you and your witness are ready.
May I begin?
You may.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Blake Doncourt, Doncourt.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the CEO of Lush Fertilizer. I founded the company.
Hold on, we lost audio.
My apologies.
No problem. Why don't you start over? Not start over the examination. Start your answer to that question over, please. If you need counsel to ask the question again.
Where would you like me to restart?
Counsel, why don't you just ask your question again?
Just restart your question. Like you answer the question.
This question? I can't.
Yeah.
Do we still have the witness? Go ahead and answer the question if you remember the question.
I'm the CEO. I'm the CEO of Lush Fertilizer. I founded the company in 2000 and I've worked ever since then to grow and expand the company. And I was also given a nomination for the UN Champions of Earth, and I've just always been really devoted to my family.
Can you tell us a bit about your family, Mr. Doncourt?
Well, I've always been close with my son and the people around him. And as a result, my son Charles was good friends with that disappointment Carson Durst, who's joining us under these very unfortunate circumstances.
How long have you known Carson Durst?
I've known him for years. As I said, he grew up alongside my son Charles. So he also worked on the company under the product development department. And Carson joined the company just after he graduated.
What is your and Carson Durst's relationship?
Well, he officially joined the company as of June 2003 and got promoted to product development engineer within 3 months of his employment.
What is your relationship with Carson?
Well, Carson broke the non-disclosure agreement, a document he signed at the start of his employment, which stated that he would not spill trade secrets or work for a direct competitor within a certain time span of his employment with us, which as a result, we did have to let him go.
Your Honor, I sent Exhibit 5.
Counsel, if the timekeepers will stop time for a moment. I don't know if it's for everyone else or just for me, but there's a lot of feedback and I'm having a hard time hearing what you're saying. I don't know if you can do something to try and stop the feedback. Let's try again, and timekeepers can start time again. I think you're asking me if I have Exhibit 5, is that right?
Sorry.
Sorry, can I repeat what I was saying?
Go ahead, counsel.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, are the attorney and witness in the same room currently?
It's Max.
I'm not sure what changed. Originally we could hear okay, but I think the feedback's coming from the questioning attorney.
Turn yours on. Okay. Your Honor.
If you have two computers in the same room, that may be causing it.
Is it working now?
Go ahead and talk and let's see if we still have feedback. I can't, it's not going to work. Unless the scoring panelists can hear you, I can't. Again, time should be stopped right now.
Yeah. Come sit here. Yeah. You're good. Okay, come sit here. Okay, you have to turn your camera on. I totally.
I'm so sorry. Someone told the judge we're working on it. Yeah. Oh,
Not you.
Okay, I think we've lost them entirely for a moment. Maybe they're trying to get resituated. Do I still have a connection? Can the scorekeepers hear me?
I can hear you, Your Honor. This topic here.
Okay, I think maybe they're just getting rearranged. I think perhaps there were too many people on at the same time close to one another. Just a guess. Okay, counsel, we have you back up. Let's see if the audio problem's fixed.
Yeah, can you hear me all right now?
Yes, whatever you did fixed it. Okay, so if you'll figure out where you were before the technical interruption, so you're ready to go?
Yes, I was going to introduce Exhibit 5 to the.
Okay. Okay, so if the timekeepers will start time again, the court does have Exhibit 5 in front of it. Go ahead, counsel.
So I would like to present Exhibit 5 to the witness.
Go ahead.
And so, Mr. Doncourt, would you read section? Mr. Doncourt, would you read section 2 of the non-disclosure agreement?
Objection, Your Honor. This hasn't been entered into evidence yet, and the witness cannot read directly from the evidence unless it has been entered.
Counsel, I think they're right. Did you want to introduce it as an exhibit?
Sorry, I thought you might have not heard it. Okay, so I move to submit Exhibit 5 into evidence. Obviously has been stipulated.
Any objection from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor, lack of foundation.
Counsel, you want to respond?
I just have to say that's probably because you couldn't properly hear me. If you'd like, we could repeat our presentation.
Okay, yeah, if you'd like to lay foundation. If you were trying to lay foundation, we didn't hear it. So it's sustained right now, but you can try and lay foundation.
Okay, could you, oh, sorry, Your Honor. Okay, so may I repeat my previous question, Your Honor?
You may.
What is your relation with Carson's firing?
Well, Carson broke the non-disclosure agreement, a document he signed at the start of his employment with us, which stated that he would not spill trade secrets, nor would he work for a direct competitor within a certain time span of his employment with us. And as a result, we did have to let him go.
I move to submit Exhibit 5 into evidence. The authenticity has been stipulated.
All right, hold on 1 second. If the timekeepers will stop time again. So now we can hear the attorney, but we're having issues with the scorekeepers and me as well, for that matter, hearing the witness. Now we're getting feedback on the witness's side. Can I ask, are you guys all in the same place?
Yes, but we've got a good setup going where it should only be one speaker that picks up everyone.
So
Would you like to move rooms, Your Honor?
if there's a way for the two of you to be separated more from one another, I think that'll solve the issue we're having with audio, but again, time should be stopped again because of the technical issue.
Your Honor, I highly apologize if we will have this already in just a moment. I am so sorry.
That's all right. It happens. It happens in the real court proceedings with virtual proceedings. So just do your best. I'm not sure what changed. Things were okay originally, but
It seems like our mic is not being working with us anymore because we had tested this previously, which is why we are in the same room. I apologize.
Okay. I think we are ready to
Hi,
continue.
we did move, Your Honor.
okay, perfect. We can hear you both fine now. All right, so
Okay, cool.
the attorney moved to admit Exhibit 5 again. Any objection from the prosecution
No, Your Honor.
or the plaintiff? I'm sorry. All right, Exhibit 5 is admitted. Go ahead, counsel.
Well, could you read section 2 of the non-disclosure, non-complete agreement for me, Mr. Doncourt?
Yes. Part 2, non-disclosure covenant. The employee will not at any time or in any manner, either directly or indirectly, divulge, disclose, reveal, or communicate any trade secret belonging to Lush to any third party, including but not limited to any competitor of Lush.
But despite this, Carson went and worked for Tara's Greenery.
Yes. He immediately went to a direct competitor right after he left, a job that he got hired to prior to his firing, might I add, which led to a very stressful lawsuit.
Moving on from Carson Durst, could you tell us a bit about what your company does?
Yeah, our company is a fertilizer company, as I'm sure you're all well aware. We run our own research and development, and we work hard to limit the environmental impact that fertilizers have.
As a CEO of a fertilizer company, how do you feel about some of the impacts regular fertilizer has on the environment?
Oh, it's terrible. There's so many problems that normal fertilizer has on the environment. One of the biggest problems being the nitrogen dumps that come from the fertilizer. And that's why my company and I work really hard to develop a product that's safe for the environment.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt. I need to hold on just a minute. I'm being told that some of the scoring panelists cannot see and hear the defense. So can you have the timekeepers stop and let me try to figure out what to do, if we have that back yet?
All right, so the court will direct the timekeepers to stop time again. I can hear everyone fine now, so I'm not sure what happened with the scoring panelists. Can Can the plaintiff hear the defense okay?
Yes, Your Honor, we hear fine.
Okay, it looks like I see. Okay, there's two of the scoring panelists are okay now.
Those were the two that had issues, so we're good. Sorry,
Okay.
everyone.
That's all
Continue.
right. You guys are doing a wonderful job of keeping your composure with these technical issues. I applaud everyone. Okay, let's start time again, and counsel, go ahead.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Okay, yep.
How have you tried to help fix these problems with your product?
Well, we developed the bonding agent Drufo, and it's been revolutionary in the field.
How have you used Drufo in your fertilizer to help prevent these issues more?
Well, we put Drufo into our fertilizer as a chemical agent to bind the other materials in the fertilizer together, thus making it safer for the environment since it slows the spread of nitrogens to a crawl. It also makes our fertilizer last a lot longer without spoiling. The amount of work put into the project paid off, and we successfully created Drufo, which has been a great success. The test that Carson had discovered about Drufo possibly being carcinogenic in rats proves nothing. And with such a small sample size, any correlation is minuscule and can be attributed to margin of error.
Moving on from Drufo, what can you say about Dakota Weir's condition?
Oh, I feel so bad that she's in this condition. We as people just have sympathy for each other, and I certainly feel that way about Ms. Weir's. It was most desirable that her cancer was caught in its earlier stages.
Do you believe that there is any valid evidence that your product caused Dakota's condition?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Oh, sorry, let me rephrase that.
All right.
Oh, sorry. So do you believe that your product could have caused Dakota's condition?
I do not. It is very important to note that the studies presented here by the plaintiff are irrelevant, as Casey Rogers' paper wasn't peer-reviewed and certainly wasn't published, which scientifically makes it invalid.
Your Honor, improper lay opinion.
So your response?
Rule 701, if a witness is not testifying as an expert, the witness testimony can form of opinions or inferences is limited to those opinions of inferences which are rationally based on the perception of the witness.
All right, so you're saying this isn't scientific testimony, essentially?
No, this is just an inference of opinion based on the previous testimony, Your Honor.
All right, the court will overrule the objection. Go ahead, counsel.
We also make a very conscious effort to ensure that our products are safe. Though Ms. Weir's condition is something I really do feel sympathy for, her accusations against our product are absurd and incredible.
Thank you. That will be all for now, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination by the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Doncourt, what is your relation to the plaintiff?
I do not have any personal relationship to the plaintiff.
Do you work for Lush Fertilizer?
I am its founder and current CEO.
Is Drufo used in Lush Fertilizer?
Drufo is currently used in many of our fertilizer products. Yeah.
You've recently been through a divorce, correct?
I have, but that does not correlate to my performance in other aspects of my life.
Well, Mr. Doncourt, you were also ordered to pay your ex-wife a large sum of money, correct?
Again, I was, but any relation outside of the company, I have ensured that it does not influence how I run the company or the decisions I make. I make enough money that I can afford to pay the retributions from the divorce case.
Okay. Well, Mr. Doncourt, would you still agree that $1.6 million is a lot of money?
It is a lot of money in general terms. However, I make enough money, as I currently specified, that $1.6 million does not make as much of a difference as one would presume.
Okay, so Mr. Doncourt, do you have a copy of Exhibit 8 available to you?
I do.
Your Honor, do you have a copy as well?
I do, thank you.
Let the record show that this is a clean and unmarked copy of what has been previously marked as Exhibit 8. I request permission to show Exhibit 8 to Blake Doncourt.
Granted.
Mr. Doncourt, could you please identify this piece of evidence?
Yes, of course. This is a chart talking about how our profits will diminish or change as a result of baking our products.
Your Honor, we offer Exhibit 8 into evidence at this time. The authenticity of the exhibit has been stipulated.
Any objection by the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 8's admitted.
This document shows that your net profit without baking would have been roughly around 1.6 million. Yes or no, Mr. Doncourt?
Yes.
And just to clarify, if you lose this case today, you would be made to pay a large sum of money, correct?
Again, personally, money does not affect me.
Okay, Mr. Doncourt, moving on from that. Baking would have been the best way to mitigate any risk of carcinogens in Drufo, correct?
Yes, however, we at the company have considered it overkill. A lot of the studies coming out, especially the ones from the EPA, have approved Drufo for safe human use. And as a result, we do not feel the need in any aspect to bake our products with Drufo before selling them, due to the fact that they have been established as safe.
So simply said, Mr. Doncourt, you don't bake Drufo because it was too expensive, correct?
Again, it is expensive, and the reason we don't is because it's overkill. We don't have a need to do that.
And that's because you don't believe Drufo is carcinogenic, correct?
Not only us, the EPA has also approved that Drufo is safe for consistent use in humans.
Which is exactly why you didn't believe it needed a warning on the label, yes or no?
The EPA did not mandate us to put a required label. We went above and beyond and put a recommendation, which was not required in any aspect.
Could you please refer to Exhibit 1, Mr. Doncourt? Did you create this label?
It is a result of our company. I personally did not create the label.
Does the caution label state to avoid eyes of clothing?
The caution label does read that it does cause eye irritation and that to avoid contact with eyes and clothing.
Okay, so, and the user safety recommendation states to utilize protective clothing that covers exposed skin, yes or no, Mr. Doncourt?
Yes, it does. It does say, as with any spray fertilizer, that protective equipment is recommended.
Mr. Doncourt, a yes or no answer will suffice for my questions. So did you or did you not want the users of this product to wear clothing while using the product?
It is a very commonly known recommendation that protective clothing, including respirators and long sleeve clothing that covers any exposed skin, is recommended for use when working with spray fertilizers.
Would you agree that this label is misleading and could possibly confuse those who use this product due to the statement that says to avoid clothing, but also to utilize protective clothing?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Would you agree that this label is misleading and could possibly confuse those who use this product?
I do not.
Okay, Mr. Doncourt, you also claim that your research on Drufo safety was extensive, yes or no?
Yes, it was extensive research that we put in before putting your product.
You went above and beyond to ensure that every finding of your research team was thoroughly investigated, yes or no?
As I mentioned, we did put a lot of effort into our studies before we put a product on the market.
So when Carson Durst published his findings in his notebook, you launched an in-house study to investigate, correct?
Yes, we did launch an in-house study, which
and you
in
launched
correlation
this in-house study because you were concerned that there might be a risk of Drufo, correct?
as with all products, there is extensive testing done before a product is sold to the consumer market.
And during the study, according to your lead product engineer, Carson Durst, one scientist expressed concern that Drufo was carcinogenic, correct?
Can you please elaborate on whether this was in rats or humans?
It was in the study that was simply brought up to you, but it was expressed that it was carcinogenic, correct? The product itself.
I believe so, yes.
And that it was also possibly linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, correct?
There might have been a possibility. However, that evidence has only been shown in rats, and any credible study regarding
Mr.
carcinogenic properties in humans have not been presented to me.
So, Mr. Doncourt, are you saying that this was never truly investigated?
It was investigated. Any studies that popped up regarding Drufo's carcinogenic possibility in humans is either invalid or was not presented.
Okay, Mr. Doncourt, I'd like to turn your attention to Carson Durst now. Who is Carson Durst?
He was a friend of my son Charles, as I mentioned in my previous statements. And for a while, he did work as an employee of Lush.
Okay. Do you have a copy of Exhibit 4 available to you, Mr. Doncourt?
I do.
Your Honor, do you have a copy of Exhibit 4 available to you as well?
I do, thank you.
Let the record show that this is a clean and unmarked copy of what has been previously marked as Exhibit 4. I request permission to show Exhibit 4 to Mr. Doncourt.
You may.
Mr. Doncourt, could you please identify this piece of evidence?
This is an email sent by Jerry Langley.
Your Honor, we offer Exhibit 4 into evidence at this time. The authenticity of the exhibit has been stipulated.
Any objection from the defense?
No, Your
All right, 4 is admitted.
Mr. Doncourt, this email is from the product manager of Drufo, correct?
Yes, it is. Jerry Langley wasn't.
For expediency's sake, I'd prefer if you just answer with yes or no answers for the next few questions. Do you see your name on the recipient list at the top?
Yes, I do.
And do you see Carson Durst's name as well?
Yes, it is just before mine.
Does this email state that there are potential carcinogenic qualities identified in Drufo samples produced?
May I take a second to double check the information in the exhibit before I make a statement?
Yes, Mr. Doncourt.
The stipulation, sorry, I apologize. Yes, it is.
And did Lush Fertilizer ever put a warning on their product about the potential harm of cancer?
No, as I mentioned, other studies have pointed to the result that Drufo is not carcinogenic in humans and is safe for human use.
However, seeing this email from the own product manager of Drufo stating the carcinogenic qualities, you still failed to put a warning label concerning the potential harm of cancer on your label, correct?
Other outside sources, as I mentioned, the EPA has mentioned that when they conducted their study, there was no risk of cancer and there was no need to put a label.
Okay, Your Honor, no further questions.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. So your divorce had no correlation to the company.
Can you repeat that, please?
So you didn't let your divorce have any correlation with the company.
Of course not.
And through testing, you determined that there was no baking necessary in the product.
Correct.
And many sources had allowed Drufo to be in your product.
Yes.
And you've clearly stated some safety recommendations, as most fertilizers would in these case scenarios, correct?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. That'll be all.
All right, any recross by the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that should conclude this witness's testimony. He may step down. If the defense would call their second witness, please.
Your Honor, I would like to call Skylar Weirs to the stand.
All right. Witness has been previously sworn. Counsel, you can start when you're ready.
May I begin, Your Honor?
You may.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record? I think your microphone is muted.
My name is Skylar Weirs.
Okay, hold on. Stop timekeeping. Timekeepers, please. Stop timekeeping. I think we're having the same issue with the echo again. For the witness, go ahead and say something. Just let me make sure that we do have an issue.
I think it's something on their side.
Yeah, it's on the, it's because it's,
Again, I'm not sure how close proximity you all are to one another, but that might be the cause of it if you're all in the same room.
Okay.
Still have the echo.
So you speak. Hello. Just say stuff.
I'm saying stuff.
Okay. Okay. And when you're not speaking, you can turn your sound off.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds better. All right, let's try again. Timekeepers can start time again. Go ahead, counsel.
could you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Is this working?
No, we still have the echo. Timekeeper, stop again, please.
To turn your sound on and off when you're.
Whatever you did to fix the other witness, you may need to do the same thing again. You may need to get in different rooms or farther away from one another.
Yes, Your Honor, we're working on it. I apologize once again. I am incredibly sorry.
Working? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but attorney just logged
Is
out.
there
I'm
still
not
an
sure.
echo?
No, not anymore. We lost your attorney.
I was not speaking. It's
Okay, yeah, just ask it. Just go.
which is
I think we're ready to continue, Your Honor, if everything is working. May
Okay.
we proceed?
Looks like it is. Okay, if timekeepers can start time again, go ahead.
Could you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
I work as an investigative journalist. I write for The Rationalist, a quarterly magazine. I feel fortunate to work for a company that values the same things I do, as well as my contributions.
Could you tell us what your contributions are?
I have written numerous articles on agritech and conducted my own research. Despite not having an official college degree, my work with The Rationalist has given me a nuanced perspective on many scientific issues, as well as real experience.
Could you tell us about your experiences in the field?
As part of my work, I researched about agritech and wrote several articles on it, including DRUFO. Despite the misinformation in the way of my investigation, I'm convinced that I have discovered the reality of modern agritech from my year-long commitment to research.
Your Honor, I would like to admit Skylar Weir as an expert witness in agritech.
Any voir dire or objection by the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor, a brief voir dire.
All right, go ahead.
Ms. Wares, you have no formal education, correct?
No, but I do have significant experience as I devoted a year of my life to researching agritech, which I believe do disqualify me.
Thank you. And you have never conducted a study of your own?
No, I have not, because that is not my expertise. I'm a field investigator.
And as you mentioned, that's not your expertise. You are not a scientist, correct?
I am not a scientist. I'm a researcher. I am here to talk about the research I have conducted.
And you have no experience working in the agritech industry?
No, I've researched agritech. I spent a year of my life conducting research on this.
And you've been writing about agritech for about less than a year, correct?
I've been doing it for about a year, but I've worked with The Rationalist for longer than that.
Right. And you research your writing with information and data you find from other experts, correct?
Yes. I've looked into the publications that agriculture companies issued themselves. I've gone back and looked at the sources they cited. I've also looked at the official records maintained by USDA and NSDA.
Yet you have no formal expertise in interpreting and validating scientific data, correct?
I don't have any official degrees, but I do have significant
knowledge and background in this field.
Thank you, Ms. Weirs. Yes or no questions will suffice for all of my subsequent questions. So, as you mentioned, you are publishing your layman's interpretation of expert reports, though, correct?
Pardon?
You are publishing a layman's interpretation of expert reports, being that you have no scientific experience, correct?
I have looked into this and I've done my own research. I have not conducted it because that is not my expertise.
Your expertise is not in scientific research, correct?
No, I conduct field research. I spent a year of my life looking into this matter.
All right. Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 702, at this time, I object to the defense's tendering of Skylar Weirs as an expert in agritech due to her lack of expert knowledge relating specifically to the scientific data that she published in her writings. While she may be able to attest to the conduct of the agritech industry herself, she lacks the scientific expertise to testify to any of the scientific conclusions. So I ask that if she is tendered in this, it's clarified that she may not testify to any of the scientific aspects of this field, only the conduct of the industry.
Defense counsel's response to the objection to the expert tender?
There's no response.
All right. The court notes that 702 allows expert testimony of scientific, technical, or other specialized knowledge will assist the trier of fact, and the expert's qualified as an expert by knowledge, skill, experience, training, or education. The court will, over the objection of the plaintiff, accept the witness as an expert in the area of agritech. The jury will get to determine what weight to give the witness's testimony in that area. Go ahead, counsel.
May I proceed with the direct examination, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. Could you tell us what your relationship with Dakota Weirs is?
I'm Dakota Weir's twin. We do not share the closest bond. Although it is tragic that I cannot morally support Dakota, I hope that my involvement in this case will be another way to help the greater population.
And how do you feel about being against Dakota?
I decided that I could not use my research and experience to support Dakota because I have spent far too much time to let my research and knowledge go to waste. If I did so and Dakota won, a major life-saving advancement would be lost out on, which is why I am here today.
You mentioned research previously. Could you explain what it was on?
Over the course of a year, I learned about modern agritech in general and DRUFO specifically. I read the publications agritech companies issued themselves, research studies about agritech, and information from national organizations. All of this was more than enough to convince me that the link between DRUFO and cancer is completely false. In fact, I'm confident that DRUFO is an excellent product that could save lives.
What were your conclusions from your research?
If DRUFO were to be widely used, both humans and the environment would see immensely positive impacts. Despite the common anti-GMO, anti-agritech narrative, I have come out of my research confident that the usage of DRUFO would see far more benefits than harm.
Could you elaborate?
Through its sweeping new formula, DRUFO does not have to be applied as often. It also prevents the nitrogen in the product, as well as the products that do not need to be used, from contaminating waterways.
But didn't you say in your statement that DRUFO was dangerous?
Yes, however, every chemical is dangerous. I would never claim that DRUFO specifically isn't. However, DRUFO has been proven to be safe and much more beneficial to the environment, especially comparatively.
Moving on, how did you come to get involved in this case?
My involvement in this case began when I discovered the real reason why Lush is subject to the stigma it is. Through PR campaigns that distort the truth and prevent progress, possible advancements that could save literally millions are halted.
Could you elaborate?
Billions of dollars were spent on PR campaigns to ignite mass hysteria and besmirch Lush's reputation. They invested significant resources into this campaign.
So just to reiterate, what does that mean for this case?
Dakota is in a very emotional state right now with her diagnosis and losing her scholarship. When she saw the anti-Lush ads, she got swept up in the propaganda and turned to Lush as something to blame for her current state.
Objection, Your Honor. This is lack of expert witness expertise and knowledge. They can't testify to this.
Your response, counsel?
Your Honor, she is not testifying to anything scientific nor anything professional. She is just saying that her sister saw PR campaigns and got swept up in her emotions, which does not take a degree nor any certification to.
All right, the court will overrule the objection on the grounds that were argued. Go ahead, counsel.
That'll be all, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, cross-examination by the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Wares, you believe that the supposed carcinogenicity of Drufo is false, correct?
Yes, I do, because especially when you consider that Dakota worked with many other products which have a much clearer link that have been established.
And yes or no, you stated this because you haven't seen a single scientific study showing a causal link between Drufo and non-Hodgkin lymphoma, correct?
The studies that were conducted to link Drufo and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma were too small of a sample size to be considered valid.
Okay, so that's a yes. Is that a yes?
Is it? Yes.
Yes. And you also haven't seen any studies showing that it isn't carcinogenic, correct?
No, I have not.
So can you conclusively say that it is not carcinogenic if you have seen no evidence showing that it is not?
The studies that were conducted have shown that Drufo is safe to use and is not carcinogenic for humans.
But you have no data showing that it is not carcinogenic conclusively?
It has been shown by the EPA that there were studies that Drufo is safe for usage in humans.
Okay. So you still you still believe that you can conclusively say that it is carcinogenic?
No, Drufo is not carcinogenic.
I mean, I'm sorry, is not carcinogenic. You can.
Yes, Drufo is not carcinogenic in humans and it is safe for human use.
All right, moving on. Ms. Whereas you consider yourself an advocate of the environment, correct?
Yes, that's actually part of the reason I was initially drawn into all of this. I admire Lush's contributions to the environment and the way it helps us become more sustainable.
So you came into this research with that as your central concern, correct?
Yes, I was chosen by my editor to write a series of articles about modern agritech, and I was interested in Lush again because of its contributions for our environment.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wares. For expedience sake, if you could answer yes or no questions, yes or no to my questions. This is because your concern is environmental benefit, correct?
Yes, I'm very concerned about the environment as it affects all of us.
So that's your motive, correct?
I am not here with a certain agenda. I am here because I can show what I know is correct, but I do believe that the environment is very important.
So you don't believe that coming into this research with a certain intention of environmentalism is at all a motive?
It is partially, but it's not completely why I'm here. I am here so I can share what I know is correct about this situation.
And you do feel like that products like Drufo need to be on the market though for environmentalism, correct?
Yes, the way that Drufo works is it bonds the nitrogen and it means that doesn't get washed away as often. So,
Right.
so our waterways are not contaminated.
So you are willing to support Lush fertilizer for that agenda, correct?
I am not here under an agenda. While I do believe that Lush is a good, excellent product because of the way it helps the environment, I am not here to testify on Lush's behalf. I am only here to testify for my own knowledge and what I know to be correct.
No further questions, Rob.
Right, thank you, counsel. Any redirect?
A brief one, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Ms. Weirs, are you here under any agenda?
No, I'm not.
Are you here to promote anything? Sorry. Are you here to promote anything?
Only my own research. So
I'll be on Your Honor. Thank you.
I'm sorry, counsel, did you say that's all?
Yes.
All right, any recross?
Yes, Your Honor, just a brief request. Ms. Weirs, do you not believe that coming into a project with a personal concern is an agenda?
No, it means that I am concerned about the environment, but it does not mean that I'm here to advocate directly for Lush. I'm only here because I know that Dakota's cancer was not caused by Lush. And I believe that if this case is won by your side, a possible advancement could be lost out on.
So you're not defending Lush?
I'm defending Lush's products, but I'm not here on their behalf. I do not have an agenda.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I think that concludes the witness's testimony. If the defense will call their third witness for us, please.
Your Honor,
So we're going to have the same echo issue. If timekeepers will stop the timekeeping again.
I believe we fixed it. Is there an echo now?
Nope. Looks like we're good. Okay, go ahead and start time again. Counsel, the witness has already been sworn. You can start when you're ready.
okay. Your Honor, may I present Dr. Devin Williams to the stand?
You may. Go ahead, counsel, when you're ready.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Dr. Devin Williams, Williams.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Williams?
I worked as lead researcher at Lush Fertilizer in the Toxicology Research and Development Lab since 2010. My work has taken me across state lines, so I hold certifications in Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Utah.
And what is your educational background?
I completed my undergraduate through PhD at CSU in Fort Collins, and after graduating, I participated in a post-PhD program in pharmacotoxicology at the University of Utah.
Do you have any other professional experience?
I currently teach forensic toxicology and toxicology of environmental occupational chemicals. I was also a tenured professor at the University of New Mexico College of Pharmacy. I have also worked as a visiting professor at CSU, an assistant professor at CU Anschutz, and as the chief medical examiner toxicologist for Larimer County.
Your Honor, I would like to admit Dr. Devin Williams as an expert witness in the field of toxicology.
Any objection or voir dire by the opposition?
A brief voir dire, Your Honor.
All right, 1 second. One of the scoring panelists is having a hard time hearing the witness. I'm not. I can hear okay. The witness may just need to speak up a little bit. Go ahead, counsel.
All right. Do you have a copy of Exhibit 9 in front of you, Dr. Williams?
I can get one. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'll just move on. Is it true that your main expertise is in forensic toxicology?
Yes.
And are you aware that forensic toxicology is post-mortem, typically?
Yes, I am aware, but I have devoted many years of my life to working in the field of toxicology in regards to fertilizer.
Yes, but you have devoted much of your life, according to your curriculum vitae, to the study of forensic toxicology. In fact, both of your degrees have a specialty in forensic toxicology. Is that correct?
Yes, a specialty, but that was not the entire degree. And like I said, my years working for Lush have taught me many valuable lessons and expanded my knowledge in the field of toxicology in regards to fertilizers.
Your Honor, looking at this witness's experience, according to Rule 702, I do not believe they should be tendered in the field of toxicology as a whole, but rather just forensic toxicology, which is strictly post-mortem.
Response by the defense.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Your Honor, I'm sorry. We do not have the witness able to be seen, and I think there may be some problems hearing the witness as well.
Okay, I think that must be on the scorekeeper end of things because I can both hear and see her. If the timekeepers will stop time again. I don't think that's a problem with the participants.
It's actually the scoring panelist.
Scoring panelist, that's what I meant.
It's the scoring panelist, Your Honor. Yeah.
All right, I'm not sure what we can do about that because again, I can see and hear everyone just fine. So I don't know where the scoring panelists are. If there's something they can try and do with the equipment they're using. There's certainly nothing the participants can do because as I said, I can hear and see them all fine. We may need to get, okay, so one of the scoring panelists is saying she can see her, but she sounds far away. I don't know if the mask is the problem. Are you wearing a mask because you're in close proximity to someone else?
Yes, but I can remove it if that'll help.
Okay, well, let's try that. First of all, if you could just ask whoever's close to you maybe to move away and maybe take your mask off. Let's see if that works.
Is that any better?
For the scoring panelists, can you hear her? Maybe also, if when you speak, you can move closer to your microphone, that might help as well.
Yeah, I can try that, Your Honor.
Okay, they indicated that's better.
That
Right,
does sound better, Your Honor, and I believe both can.
Okay,
Thank you.
excellent. Okay. We're putting the timekeepers through their paces. I appreciate your trying to keep up with all the stops and starts. The timekeepers will start again. Defense counsel's response to the plaintiff's objection to the witness tender.
None, Your Honor.
All right, the court will accept the witness as an expert in the area of toxicology. I think that although there's an emphasis in forensic toxicology, there's enough background for both. So the witness accepted as expert in toxicology. Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell us about your job at Lush?
I lead the Toxicology Research and Development Lab at Lush Fertilizer, and I am the chair of the company's ethics committee. This means I am needed to keep Drufo products environmentally aware and cost effective so we can be the best in the industry.
And what did your lab find about Drufo?
Our numerous studies found that there was nothing in Drufo to suggest it would be carcinogenic. In fact, all the data we analyzed became below normal confidence level.
What does this mean?
Basically, it means all the data we analyzed was consistent with users of fertilizers with Drufo not having an elevated risk of non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
And since you're so familiar with Drufo, could you tell us a bit about the science behind it?
Well, Drufo was designed to be a cleaner fertilizer that does not create nitrate pollution. Pollution is the result.
Objection. This witness is starting to talk about agritech and the relationship of Drufo in agricultural sense. I believe they're only tendered in toxicology.
Counsel, your response?
Moving on.
All right, sustained.
So what exactly makes Drufo a safer fertilizer?
Well, a lot behind that.
Again, Your Honor, I believe this question is outside the scope of the witness.
Defense response?
Your Honor, permission to confer with the co-counsel.
You may, if you recognize the time it'll take. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you, Your Honor. The witness can talk about this because she's in the field of toxicology and since she's talking about the harmful effects behind it.
All right, I believe it's what you're, go ahead, counsel, briefly.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I believe toxicology is the study of chemicals on the body. If I'm wrong, please correct me, co-counsel.
All right, court's going to overrule the objection. I think it's within our area of expertise. Go ahead, counsel, your examination.
Okay. And was Drufo banned in the EU because of the nitrates?
Sorry, objection, lack of foundation. I do not believe it's been established that it's been banned yet.
Counsel, your response?
Your Honor, I was laying the foundation.
Well, I'll sustain the objection. I don't think you've laid the foundation yet for that question.
Okay. And what exactly makes Drufo a safer fertilizer, Dr. Williams?
So Drufo is a safer fertilizer because it prevents nitrate runoff into the environment, which is caused by excess nitrogen, which is converted into nitrates, which can run off and cause eutrophication, which is the buildup of excess nutrients in large bodies of water. And because Drufo binds the fertilizer to the soil more effectively, it prevents that runoff, which makes it better for the environment.
Okay. And was Drufo banned in the EU because of the nitrates?
Yes. So Drufo was banned.
Objection, leading question.
Your Honor, may I rephrase?
You may.
And Drufo was banned in the EU because of nitrates. Is this correct?
Yes, it was. The EU nitrate directive says no new fertilizer formulations may be used that contribute more than the incidental nitrate accumulation in lab tests. In real world conditions, DRUFO does reduce the accumulation of nitrates, but it does not do so in lab tests.
Okay, and why did, how does that relate to the ban? Sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. That will be all.
All right, cross-exam.
Yes, Your Honor. Before, could I get a time check from my timekeeper?
(2:17). Go ahead, counsel.
Perfect, thank you. To keep this short, Dr. Williams, I request that it's just a yes or no answer to my questions. I'm just going to ask you a few questions to further the jury's understanding of the case. Is it true that lush fertilizers are banned in the European Union?
Yes, and I believe the situation is too complex for a simple yes answer. The lush fertilizer is banned in the EU, or it is banned in the EU, but not in relation to cancer, in relation to nitrates.
Perfect, that was my next question. So why is it that the nitrates are so important to the EU rather than this carcinogenic quality?
I cannot speak to why the EU values nitrates over more carcinogenic. Maybe it's because they know that DRUFO is not actually carcinogenic.
I'm sorry, I'll rephrase. So you previously testified that in lab testing, they find nitrogen within more than they would in real world conditions. Is this correct?
Not nitrogen, all fertilizers have nitrogen and nitrates.
But is it true that you previously testified that the nitrogen content found in the lab is different than that found in real world conditions?
The nitrate content, yes.
Yes. And with that being said, did you conduct any real world studies on the effects of DRUFO on the human body with the other effects of variables that can be found in real world conditions?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase?
I'm sorry. Did you conduct any real world studies on the effects of DRUFO on the human body with other variables that can be found in real world conditions?
Yes. I'm confused as to how that relates to the union, but yes, we did. Both in-house and out-of-house studies were conducted.
Do you have a copy of your affidavit in front of you?
I do.
For expediency's sake, I will have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Redirect, if there's time left for the defense to do a redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Williams, what exactly makes DRUFO a safer fertilizer?
Like I said, DRUFO is better for the environment because it prevents the runoff of nitrogen, which is converted into nitrates, and that prevents eutrophication and algae blooms, which can be harmful to both fish and humans, amongst other organisms.
And can you explain why DRUFO was banned in the EU?
It was banned because of nitrate accumulation, not because it was carcinogenic.
Thank you, Your Honor. That will be all.
All right, thank you. I think the plaintiff had about 20 seconds left. Did the plaintiff have one question for the witness on recross?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. The witness can step down. I think that concludes the testimony of the witnesses. So we will move to closing arguments, starting with the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor. And just to verify, if I may ask how much time I have for my closing statement, just to verify.
Minute 46, it looks like.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Counsel, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will begin. Today, the plaintiff had the burden of proving with a preponderance of evidence 4 jury instructions. First of all, the defendant manufactured a fertilizer product containing a chemical compound known as DRUFO. This first instruction went completely undisputed, and both sides can agree and have irrefutably shown that Lush Fertilizer did in fact manufacture and distribute a product containing DRUFO. Second, the defendant was negligent by failing to exercise reasonable care to prevent the product from creating an unreasonable risk of harm to persons who might have reasonably been expected to use the product. First of all, Lush Fertilizer gave their employees a fertilizer containing Drufo, yet they failed to provide an adequate warning label to warrant a necessity for protective equipment. Dakota's Ware's testimony in the examination of Exhibit 1 has proven that the label they did provide was obscure, confusing, and nowhere mentioned the potential carcinogenic risk. This is especially crucial considering that Carson Durst's testimony proved that management was aware of two different studies, one external and one internal, indicating that Drufo contained carcinogenic properties. The fact that Lush Fertilizer launched the study in the first place shows us that they did in fact recognize the risk, yet they never took the steps necessary to mitigate this risk or negate their liability. If they had done this, they would have done the simple task of baking it like they proposed. Yet again, they still didn't even do this. Not to mention, baking was never corroborated scientifically. So while they proposed this as a method to negate their liability, they still didn't do this. So even in the case that it wasn't really carcinogenic, they still didn't take the steps to negate their liability. So they are still responsible. 3, the plaintiff was one of those persons the defendant should have reasonably expected to use the product. Today, you have seen through Dakota Ware's testimony that Drufo was a product given to her by Lush Fertilizer to use as an industrial fertilizer. Evidence adduced by Casey Rogers proved that Lush Fertilizer is the only probable cause for Dakota Ware's condition, and that the defense's narrative that her condition was caused by other fertilizers was disproven by Dr. Rogers' study, which found that other fertilizers not containing Drufo do not exhibit the same carcinogenic qualities. With the preponderance of evidence, we can show that Lush Fertilizer was the cause of Dakota Ware's conditions. Finally, number 4, the plaintiff had damages that were caused by the defendant's negligence, while the product was being used in a manner the defendant should have reasonably expected. Because they did not provide a warning label that adequately delineated the risk and thus necessitated the need to wear protective equipment, Dakota Ware's did not do it. She took all the steps necessary that were given to her and told to her by Lush Fertilizer, and so she negated her liability. Today, Lush Fertilizer did not. We have proven with preponderance evidence all 4 of those instructions, so we see that the jury vote in favor of the plaintiff today. Thank you.
All right, counsel. I think the plaintiff went about a minute or so over. If the timekeepers can confirm. So we'll add about a minute to the defense closing, and I don't think the prosecution, well, for the timekeepers, was that all of their time, or was there still time left for a plaintiff rebuttal closing? All right, I'm going to presume there's no time left for rebuttal closing unless all time used. Okay, all right, defense closing when you're ready, and we'll add a minute to the defense closing if they wish to use it. Go ahead, counsel, when you're ready.
To Dakota, I apologize. Dakota, music was everything. It was her life. So when she found out she had cancer and would not likely be able to play anymore, she was shocked. And who wouldn't be? And who would be so emotionally unstable after finding out that you lost your lifelong passion and connection with your closest family member? But in these high emotions, Dakota saw PR campaigns that were used against Lush and made a connection in her mind. This connection was wrong. She used the campaigns and Lush to channel her emotions through. And we truly do feel sorry for her condition. However, it is no reason to fault the company. Today, we saw Carson Durst try to claim that he did tests and found minor traces of carcinogenic abilities in Drufo, yet only one other study displayed anything similar, and it was in rats, not humans. Carson Durst has a personal connection to the Doncourt family, so what was stopping him from trying to get back at them? He knew that the disclosure agreement would be broken, and yet he still chose to break it. And why would he do that unless he wanted to get back? And not only did he break the agreement, but he began working for Lush's biggest competitor. We also saw Dr. Casey Rogers try to bring up their study on Drufo, and yet the trial methods do not even properly compare the effects of Drufo on humans. They compare the effects on drastically different groups and do not compare them properly. And the numerous other outside factors and variables haven't been taken into account. If someone with her level of education cannot conduct a study accounting for all variables and possibilities, what would make them credible? And lastly, we heard from Dakota, who I truly feel sorry for, but all she has shown today was her own projections onto my client's company. The plaintiff claims that Lush Fertilizer took an unreasonable risk.
However, I could say the exact same is true for Dakota Weirs. Dakota Weirs' negligence to follow protocol is indeed unreasonable. Dakota herself said that she did not follow the recommended safety protocols. She said herself that her managers would caution her and tell her to wear them, yet she didn't. And though maybe other people didn't do them either, it was her responsibility to look after herself. Not only does this show her lack of care, but it shows her irresponsibility. Additionally, if you were being told multiple times to wear safety and even know you're working with known chemicals, why wouldn't you follow instructions? Not to mention that Dakota has been working in landscaping since she was 14. Wouldn't you think that someone with that many years of experience in the job would know better? And if it were really to be Lush fertilizer, wouldn't there be more cases of cancer? Wouldn't there be more people causing a commotion and trying to find justice if Lush did truly cause cancer? Members of the jury, what you heard today from the plaintiff was a teen who lost everything and in her emotions used Lush fertilizer as her escape for being diagnosed with cancer. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. All right, to both teams, nicely done. If you were all here in person, I'd be having you give one another a rousing round of applause. Again, hopefully at some point in the future, I don't know what grade you all are in, and I'm not allowed to know that, nor are the scoring panelists, but I'm hoping if any of you are underclassmen and not seniors this year, that maybe next year, if you compete again, we'll be able to do this in person. But I want to compliment both teams. I am an actual judge. I have done somewhere in the range of 210 jury trials, and I thought you all did an excellent job. We need to give the scoring panelists just a few minutes to total up their score sheets. And if everybody doesn't mind hanging in the room here with us, I don't think your next round starts until 4:15, so you have some time, and we'll make sure we give you time for a break between now and the next round. When the scoring panelists get done totaling up your scores, we'll give each of them an opportunity just to give you a little bit of constructive feedback each if they wish to do that. I want to, number one, thank and congratulate all of you just for doing this. I'm guessing that many, maybe all of you are taking advanced classes. I know from having my own children who are all now almost done with college. I've got one more in college, but from watching them study while they were in high school, I know how demanding and time consuming your schedules are without extracurricular activities. I did mock trial myself in law school, so I know how much time you all invested over and above your regular studies into preparing your presentations today. So again, I want to thank you for being willing to do this. I want to applaud you from doing it. I'm curious, do any of you have any inkling right now that you might want to attend law school? Sorry, I think I lost you for a minute. I see some raised hands. That's awesome. I think everybody here probably just through this competition got some kind of feel for the critical thinking skills that you need to present a case like this in court. And obviously that's something that law school tries to teach you. Even for those of you who don't have any desire or inclination to go to law school, I think this is an excellent exercise in that same thing. So again, congratulations and thank you so much. I wanted to commend those of you on the defense side for, again, how gracefully you dealt with the technical problems. I will tell you that I had some technical problems myself when I first tried to get into the room where they were giving us instructions, and I perhaps didn't even need that because I do this every year, so it doesn't change much from year to year, but I couldn't get into that room. I think I must have had an internet connectivity issue because when I got somebody on the phone and they led me through it, I didn't do anything differently than I was doing without them on the phone, but somehow magically I got in then. And I will tell you, I was a little bit frazzled thinking I wasn't going to be able to get in. I wouldn't be able to do this. So I thought you guys recovered nicely. You may want to talk with your coach and see if you all can figure out on your own, though, what the issues were, so you don't have to go through that on the next round. I'm not going to go through and talk about individual performances because quite honestly, I'm concentrating so much on trying to guess what objections you're going to make and trying not to screw my rulings up on them that I don't note a lot of that. But I did want to say on objections and on voir dire of experts and then the ruling on whether an expert gets admitted or not, for purpose of this competition, the scoring panelists are not really judging you on what my ruling is and whether you prevail or don't prevail on the objection or the voir dire. They're really just scoring you on how you did with respect to your argument, whether the judge upholds it or not. I did want to say that I thought that generally everyone seemed pretty well prepared on the expert witness, both the introduction of the expert and the offering of the expert and laying the foundation, and the voir dire and the objections. I thought in particular the voir dire on Skylar Weirs that the plaintiff did was really good. And your argument, you really prepared well with respect to your argument as to why the witness shouldn't be tendered as an expert, even though you lost that. You did a really good job on that. I guess I said I wouldn't pick individuals out, but I guess I kind of am. And then all the witnesses were good. And I don't mean to, by singling one out, say that anybody else wasn't. But the plaintiff's expert, the young lady who played the plaintiff's expert, I thought that you were the expert. You kind of became that part. But again, really well done on both sides. And I wish both sides the best of luck in the next round. And we'll just wait to see when the scoring panelists are ready to give you each a little bit of comment.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure to do this. It's always fun for me, particularly since I did mock trial. I coached mock trial in high school years ago when I was still a practicing attorney for a couple of years. So thank you to your coaches as well. I singled you guys out for the amount of time you put into it. Obviously the coaches do the same thing. And I don't think I appreciated although I appreciated my trial team coach at University of Denver College of Law when he was helping us. I didn't really appreciate it until later when I found out how busy he is as a practice attorney when I got out and tried to do it myself. So for any of the coaches, whether you're high school teachers or practicing attorneys, thank you so much for the time and effort you put into these young people's presentations as well.
Scoring panelists, I just want to make sure you have submitted your scores before you talk. So just make sure that's done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Let me, if you could each just give a real brief introduction, let the participants know who you are, and then if you want to give some brief constructive criticism, feel free.
I'm happy to go if the court's okay with that.
Go ahead.
My name is Truly. I work as a paralegal in a law firm in Castle Rock. So I just wanted to say thank you again. You guys honestly did a great job. I've been a scoring panelist for the last 3 years, so I've gotten to see some teams over the years. The preparation for both teams I thought was amazing. You guys did a great job. You knew everything about the case. You guys answered the questions very well. Quick thinking, especially on a lot of the objections that were asked. Very good on that. The only criticism I have, and this is a general one for both teams, is watch playing around with things. Playing around with the hair, playing around with the earrings, playing around with the jewelry. That's distracting. It would be in court, but especially it is on video. So I just wanted to throw that out at you guys. That's kind of for both teams, but really that is my only critique. Very good job, guys.
All right, thank you. Next scoring panelist, if someone's ready to.
Yeah, I can go. I'm Abby. I'm a paralegal in Castle Rock as well. This is my second time being a scoring panelist for mock trial. My only critique would be when you tell a witness that you want yes or no answers and they start to give you more, if you truly only want the yes or no answer, cut them off. Tell them, no, I said yes or no. Yes or no is sufficient. Cut them off. Otherwise, you guys did an amazing job. Everybody was very prepared and very professional, and it was my honor to be a part of this.
Thank you. And our last scoring panelist.
Hi, I'm Laura Toole. I'm an attorney in Parker. I own a firm, and I just want to tell everyone, congrats. You guys did amazing. The way that you handled yourselves, you dealt with the objections flawlessly, and I give you a lot of kudos. It's impressive that you haven't gone to law school yet, and you conducted the hearing or the trial on both sides with poise and ease throughout the entire thing. And you rolled with the punches with technological difficulties. And trust me, we are all dealing with them. It hasn't gotten easier, I can tell you, over the course of almost 2 years now. So just congrats. And you guys did an amazing job.
All right, so heave a big sigh of relief that you've got one round out under you, and good luck on the rest of the competition the rest of the way. Ms. Gear, did you have anything you wanted to say? Ms. Greer, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody. Good luck.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Your
you.
Honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Bye-bye. You're welcome.
Judge, I'm